Hey everybody, welcome to yet another episode of Revenge of By the Numbers. It is a fresh week of Counter-Strike news to be going over here, and won't be doing it alone, of course. Thorin joining me on the high seas in the Counter-Strike landscape as we have set sail under a new flag, haven't we?
Yes.
How you doing,
Here's the
man?
thing, Semmler. This is, if people haven't noticed, obviously on this show, we're actually quite open with how our lives and our philosophies have changed. So one of the interesting things about the way certain terminology is very similar is me and Semmler back in the day, we were the dream of what every gamer would want to be. We were the nerds that grew up, but we were getting to play in the games we loved that give the same edgy humor that everyone used to love in the early days of the internet. And we were all about getting that skrill, getting our money on. But the thing is now, we're not about degeneracy. We're not about that lifestyle anymore. We're trying to get a very different type of booty. Pirate booty. See, that's a play on words. If you know,
I see what you
there you
did
go.
there.
There you go.
Like the thing is, would you even know the reference now? I guess if you're like, I mean, because the thing is like One Piece pirates, pirate booty, but like, dude, the reference. Fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, that announcement came out this week. Pretty cool to see. Richard staying on board for the Four Horsemen, which is dope as well. He's also still kind of creating his own content on the side on his channel. And then
Also, I will just
Maui getting
clarify.
involved.
This is
So
technically the first time officially that me and Semmler have ever shared any booty.
What
That
happens
was
at the
phrased
after
very
parties?
carefully there, Semmler. Exactly.
That
Phrased
was very
carefully.
careful there, and I appreciate it. That's good. That's solid. The whatever happened in all those years of Counter-Strike degeneracy, I know. Not the case anymore. Don't have to worry about that. Obviously, we're all. I mean, like we pretty much. This is like the next phase. It feels like going into this sort of thing. I mean,
Yes.
we can talk about this idea that's now become a reality, which is that we're not really attending live events anymore, but it's still about creating the content. I mean, it's not like we've closed the door entirely on going to live events and participating, but it just doesn't seem like it's an option right now. And so really cool just to actually have like to start getting together a podcast idea where we could just group the shows together. I mean, thinking about it now, obviously when I saw it all come together and like the talent coming together and all that sort of thing, I was just having flashbacks to Room on Fire back in the day, except that now, there's actual
Exactly.
content instead of it just being a bunch of talent, who are banding together for negotiation purposes with TOs. It's actually like, here is the content that you can actually build on and actually go forth and do something with. So it's cool, man. It's really exciting to see it come together. It's happy to see that it's finally
For sure.
public.
What people won't know as well is this is actually something which could have happened under the Flashpoint brand. By the way, not only will they one day, every one of those team owners who ends up being legit, look back and go, what the fuck was I thinking? I had Thorin, not only like getting me players like a GM, a pipeline of the best talent, but also he was going to do all the content and he would have made a whole content platform that could have been its own business, spun out to make millions in revenue. And I turned that down. Why though? They'll one day look back on that and think they are so stupid. And the reason why is this, Semmler, is when they were in the idea of doing that, like every other company in esports, they were just super cynical. So one of the things that's happened many times over the years, I won't say who, but there are certain like media moguls in esports who buy up properties. They come along and they buy this site and that one. Then they do things like combine their Facebook followers and whichever one's the biggest account, they use that one. Like they know all the algorithm, all the tech, but because they're super cynical about numbers, they would always make me offers for my personal YouTube channel that would be like pretty much exactly like the right amount for that time period. But they never ever had the vision of offering me a little bit more. They would always just be very cynical, like, right, I'll give you like, I'll buy the whole thing and then I pay you like, let's say like 5K a month. And it's like, you know what, that might at the time have been a good deal. But what they never saw was what I saw, which is what if I can make it bigger? What if I can bring on more content and make it expand it out? I'd be a fool to have sold it for 5K, wouldn't I? So in the same sense, like this could have been a project elsewhere. If I'd have stayed with Flashpoint, it actually might have launched under their brand and initially been there. But
Certainly.
obviously I had my own dispute with Flashpoint. I told the story before. I basically told them to go fuck themselves with the contract that they offered me. It wasn't that it was an insulting amount of money, but the story I've always told is they just like made me a certain offer and then were literally, after literally sending me a contract to potentially sign Semmler, were just like, actually, maybe we want to negotiate that down a little bit. And I was like, there's no little bit. Like, this is the end of the negotiation. They're like, oh, what about the original? No, that is what you just said is the end of the negotiation. Like, goodbye. Like, I was already going to maybe be my last year anyway, but it's over now. So actually, what's funny to me is this. I couldn't know that I'd get it funded and all this. There's the other angle where we were going to go independent. People know the story. Before that Four Horsemen episode with Mick from Face It, Some of the Face It people were our investors. They were the ones putting in 6 figures and putting in loads of money. That was what was going to pay people before we had the sponsors. Now we obviously have Esports Bet. So in that scenario as well, there's another that was like out of a movie, Semmler. That is like the devil making you fucking sell your soul. Because someone comes to you and they go, oh, you know, like it was literally, this is not a joke. We were going to sign the papers something like a day after we found out of nowhere they signed with the fucking Saudis. So that was one of those ones where it was like everyone else was telling me, like, just do it anyway. Everyone's getting blood money in the industry. It was all that. And I was like, no, that is the devil, mate. He's just talking through you guys. So no, I'm going to have to say no. Even though it means this company doesn't get to start how I wanted to initially, I have to just start at a level below and trust that it can go there legit. I don't need to set. So there were so many ways and twists and turns where this could have actually come out through other mediums in slightly more limited capacity without having the same ownership and all that jazz. And the maddest thing is, by betting on ourselves and making the right choice, because I always say, the thing I love about morals and principles is they're just a fucking compass for living in the world. You just look up, oh, actually, I'm not that same person, so I can't go that way. You guys are going this way, I've got to go this way, I'm afraid. And then if we meet up again later, cool. If we don't, then it wasn't for me. So I have to say, it's actually ended up, assuming this isn't like famous last words, it all collapses in on itself in a few years. It's actually ended up the best possible way for me with the creative control, the equity, you know. This is actually like almost the dream scenario, but you couldn't have known that initially if you went through the traditional methods. So yeah, I'm loving it, mate. It's actually gone almost without a hitch so far.
That's the idea of just striking out on your own rather than playing it by somebody else's rules or some other company's rules. I mean, that was actually really interesting, the timing of it all coming together, because there was talks about like coming together, making your own brand, making your own company, and then the whole Flashpoint thing. You really remember. It's actually kind of trippy because the Face It, you know, because Flashpoint was Face It, and so it was run by Face It. Essentially, it was a Face It product, and that was where Monty was tied in. That was where everything was tied in. So when you say that this could have all happened under the Flashpoint brand, I mean, that's true, because most of the people involved with this project going up to this point were Flashpoint people, and then it all kind of just, you know, pans out from there. They, you know, Face It and get merged into ESL, and it all becomes one giant CSGO mess. Like
an evil human centipede.
So, yeah, there you go. Just one step down after another. You know, but like that, the thing that was the idea that I was playing around with earlier, though, when I was walking my dog, is just that where do you draw the line in this sort of scenario? I mean, I don't know. This is really just going to be like housekeeping kind of stuff, guys. But like, where do you draw the line in this scenario? Because if you don't want to work directly, like take direct investment, but you're still going to build your company on talking about a product that is funded by that kind of money, it's like, where do we draw the line? Like, how far do you go to remove yourself from the fact that, you know, the content that we're talking about here is still based on a product. Even if we aren't directly working with them, we're still talking about their product at the end of the day. Like, where do you sit on that one? Because right now, that's the kind of path that I'm on, where I'm trying to figure that out.
But I do think it's something I've thought about a lot this last year or so, when I knew that not only had I worked, like essentially the work I do in League of Legends does actually advertise a product that directly enriches the Chinese economy. So it's not like that's not one of my particular big bugbears. It's more Richards, you know, against the China angle. But I'm certainly not a fan, and I don't like a lot of the things I see over there. I mean, there's actually certain elements can be quite based, but there's certain elements that obviously I find horrifying and play right into all my sort of like 1984 fucking paranoia of like, what the hell? Like, so there is some of that, but the problem is basically, for right now, it's okay. I feel like as you say, I feel like the line is just past where we are. Like, essentially, if we don't do this, when we can't ever actually interact with any sport, with any like mainstream hobby, couldn't even talk about movies, if you know what Hollywood's like and the things that they do and what they're promoting. So eventually, look, I'm not against that idea, Semmler. There is actually a world where one day I might be some sort of fucking throwback hermit type figure living in a fucking, not a cabin, I'll be living in a cool little stone house in the woods, not that far from a smaller town. And it's like, I'll just weigh up how much interaction do I want, how much modern things, how much old stuff. There is a world where I'm probably heading down that path, but I'm not quite there now. And so for the initial period, I think it can work. That's also one of the reasons, though, I will say, as to why I also think this company has ended up being way more than I initially anticipated. I understood the premise that one day I might need like business people to help me manage my stuff and my businesses, because that's another thing I ran myself ragged with for years. I did every single thing myself for like like 8 years or something mental, which is too much. I should have had interns and secretaries and people like that way before. I was foolish not to, but I came from a poor background, so I actually didn't even understand concepts like, well, you just put it on your tax bill and they're essentially expensed. Like I didn't even think of that. I was thinking, but I'd have to make this much to pay that. I came from a different background. I wasn't a business guy. So what I would say as well is this: there's also a world where that's one of the reasons why, like in your case, when people come on board this company and they're founders, they're getting equity in the company, because that also means after the initial period when it all vests, there might be a day in the future where maybe me and you don't make esports content, but we'll still have our investment in this company. This company can potentially still be a platform for other people who care about the games, and that can be like a passive income at that point in time. So I feel like there is a pretty. I'm thinking about the same thing. There is a world where at one point maybe I either gradually keep disconnecting or I have to go a different route. It's just at that point in time, like I obviously then can't be, like I say, in any sort of mainstream thing. I'm gonna have to only talk about like obscure fucking like religious books from hundreds of years ago or something. So
that is, it
and
really
then what
does
am I going
feel
to
like
talk
you
about?
just
It can't be on
continually-
YouTube.
Like it's one
gonna
step
keep
after
going.
another. Like you just keep it
Exactly.
just like that's the pruning process that keeps happening right now for me, at least over the past few years, where it's just like now I remove that bit and now this, like it just keeps walking further and further away to the point where it really is. I'm so selective with what I spend my time on now, with what I watch, and so it almost feels like eventually you do hit that level where it's like, but how do you square that circle? How do you keep enjoying this one thing when you know that you're not taking part for these reasons here directly, but indirectly you're still benefiting from it? So do you need to just continuously just keep stepping back, like you say, until you wind up in a cabin in the woods? Or the other side of it is like, do you concede the ground, or do you actually stay active in it so that there is a source for an opposing view, and maybe you have to dirty yourself a little bit in the sense that you're still talking about something that is funded by that, but at least that you're there to provide like an opposing view in that sort of scenario, so that it isn't just an echo chamber of sold out, like of people who are not thinking these things, who are not trying to actually consider these things, and who would rather not think about these things entirely and just go about their day. Like,
no, it's like you say, it's a journey. Like we're not at the end yet. We don't know where we're going, but we just have a rough. It's a similar thing. What I was saying, you have a compass, you have a rough idea. You're probably heading in this direction. And plus, who knows? Maybe people think we've gone crazy then, and we just disappear. And all I'm saying is, if you liked it from the front, maybe you will like it from the back. Whatever, just a Zoomer reference there. Don't worry about it, Sam. That's a reference to the music these kids be banging, Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.